Joe Biden may have just cost Kamala Harris the presidency. Yes, his latest gaffe was that bad, and the mainstream leftist media are having an absolute meltdown trying to pick up the pieces. Joe Biden carelessly labelled Trump supporters garbage during a CNN interview.
There's been a significant own goal from the current president of the United States. He's referred to Donald Trump's supporters as garbage.
Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
Since the comment, there has been an avalanche of reactions. Donald Trump exploited the mistake for his own gain, making a spectacle to draw even more attention to himself and Biden's incompetence.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Kamala Harris tried to distance herself from her former boss.
Have you spoken to President Biden since his comment last night about garbage?
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. That is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously.
And the mainstream media had a meltdown, desperately trying to defend Biden's comments. Whoopi Goldberg had a crack on The View.
Trust me, there is a completely unfair standard with Donald Trump. I'm saying there's an unfair standard where his supporters have just decided it's baked in when he insults people, but they do take offense. Deplorables did matter. That comment from Hillary Clinton did matter. But I would say that Joe Biden is still the president. I'd like him to be working on getting the hostages back.
And then a CNN host gave the bizarre advice that Joe Biden should have just embraced his careless comments.
I'm of the mindset that if you say it, you might as well just embrace it. And I do think that that's a problem for Democrats.
We're going to ask our strategist over here in a second.
Shocking, that I would say that. No, but realistically, I do think if he said, listen, yeah, I do mean all those racist supporters of Donald Trump. Yeah, I do think that they're terrible. I think that people would look at the Democratic Party a little bit different.
And another CNN panelist said Biden simply had a stutter.
I don't know that I would expect this president to be everywhere in this moment. I mean, look, a critical element, any coach will tell you, any CEO will tell you, a critical element of running a team and winning is assessing the strengths and weaknesses of your team members and making sure you allocate them in the right way. Joe Biden has never been a big arena speaker. He's never been the most fluid speaker. And by the way, as someone who had a stutter growing up, it's very obvious to me that there's an apostrophe at the end of supporters there. He was referring to the garbage spewed by supporters, not simply the supporters themselves.
MSNBC's Joe Scarborough then gaslit Trump supporters, saying they're making a firestorm out of the comments.
Something immediately tried to clarify it, Joe, but it's certainly a story on the right who are trying to paint this to be the next basket of deplorables.
Well, of course, and Donald Trump says shocking things every day in Fox News, and all of his apologists of the Republican Party immediately go to it and brush it off, explain it away, or just completely ignore it. Here, they're trying to make a firestorm out of something that, again, if you look at it, you look at what he said immediately afterward, which Donald Trump didn't say. He immediately afterwards said, no, that's not what I meant. I was talking about the comedian and people that supported that kind of talk. But Willie, Joe Biden obviously doesn't believe that. We had that, I forget what state it was in, but it was during a hurricane, after a hurricane, I believe, and Joe Biden went in, and he went in and talked to the crowd, went over, talked to a guy who was a big Trump supporter, joked with him, put the hat on him, and again, trying to bring people together and even saying, hey, I'll wear your Trump cap. We're all on the same team. That's the type of leadership you want.
And then the CNN panel went into a full-blown meltdown trying to defend Biden's record.
I think it would be great if she could run on what Biden has done, because what Biden has done is actually tremendous. And I think it is absolutely bananas that she has to even think of distancing herself from the Jobs and Infrastructure Act, from the CHIPS Act, from the PACT Act. We haven't done infrastructure. Why are you laughing?
Please keep talking about the CHIPS Act. If you look at the polling on the issues, Joe Biden is 60% disapproved on every single major issue.
And the White House may have even broken the law trying to desperately clear Biden's name, with some reporting the transcript was doctored. Biden-Harris White House may have violated the law by altering President Biden's garbage remarks in official transcript. House Republican Conference Chairwoman Elise Stefanik and Oversight Chairman James Comer are raising concerns the Biden-Harris White House may have violated the Presidential Records Act by revising President Biden's remarks in which he referred to President Trump's supporters as garbage. But commentators on social media aren't buying the spin, with outspoken commentator Charlie Kirk saying, "Dear Trump supporters, you are not garbage, you are not Nazis, you are not deplorable. You're not irredeemable, you're not bitter clingers. You are patriots who are the backbone of this amazing country. You build it, fix it, clean it, design it, and love it. This current administration hates you. Remove them from power." Former acting US Attorney General Matthew Whitaker agrees, exposing the double standards of the media.
It's strange to me, yesterday we spent all day, the mainstream media telling us that this insult comics, joke that failed in the room, I was there, was somehow the worst thing that was ever said about anyone. And they tried to extrapolate it not from just, an insult by one person to Puerto Rico, but, paint it across all of President Trump's supporters. And then, obviously, this comment by the President of the United States saying that people like me that have supported Donald Trump are garbage. And again, I don't worry too much about this. This is a little bit silly season, but it's just, I think the problem is that they spent, an entire day, entire news cycle trying to convince us that this comics that nobody's ever heard of, quite frankly, a very fringe comic in the United States was somehow speaking for the Trump campaign. And now, the President of the United States goes and says this. It's really, it's extraordinary, but, Joe Biden is, I don't think, trying to help Kamala Harris win the White House. At least that's what it appears from my perspective.
Sky News contributor Kosha Gada also agrees, saying Joe Biden is sucking the life out of Kamala's campaign.
Let's start with that final address by Kamala Harris. And at the same time, the incumbent, Joe Biden, delivers yet another gaffe and a really damaging distraction for the Democratic campaign.
Yes, this is why they say a week is a lifetime in politics. And you can just see that between the story coming out of Madison Square Garden, on that issue of trash specifically. And then 24 hours later, this. It's also interesting because it sounds like every time Kamala Harris is giving a high profile address or speech or interview somewhere, this has now happened, I think, the third time where the president has spoken either at the same time or in short order. And that's just interesting because it sucks the oxygen out of the room in terms of Kamala's headlines and all of that generating. So probably not helpful. I think in general, all this messaging is not that relevant right now. It's all about execution and getting your base to turn out. But to the extent that messaging still is relevant,